Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, and Happy New Year to all of our viewers, whether you're here on the live or the replay. This is our first show in 2025, so Happy New Year to all of you. USA Global TV and Radio, it's where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Our show today is A Woman's Prerogative, Part 1, and it's in partnership with E360 TV. A warm welcome to our loyal viewers and our friends at E360 TV. And hello to all of our friends on all our usual social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn and X. Our topic today is a very exciting one. From chaos to clarity, balancing parenting, business and self-care. Not that I've been a parent, but I do understand because I have been in the midst of many of my friends having to deal with these kinds of issues and being the friend, the one that's being part of supporting them while they're taking care of the parenting needs. I'm Caroline Heward. I'm absolutely thrilled and honoured to be representing Dr. Jacqueline as your host for USA Global TV and Radio's flagship show, A Woman's Prerogative. I'm a TV presenter, I'm the resident therapist for USA Global TV and Radio, and I'm also known as the Harley Street Stress Expert. I'm joined today by one of our regular panelists, Reverend LYDIA FOUGERES, and she's all the way from Canada. And we also have a special guest. So let's bring out Reverend LYDIA FOUGERES, who's known as the Great Mother Divine. Sorry, let me get that right. Great Divine Mother. And she's a mother, a reverend, and she has a master's in metaphysics. Let's bring out Reverend LYDIA.
Hello, Reverend. Nice to see you, and Happy New Year to you and everyone that is watching the show. So it's nice to be with you all.
Thank you, Reverend. And before we go into the introductions, I'd love to introduce and bring out our special guest for tonight's show. Her name is KIM-ADELE RANDALL. She has an incredible CV. When I was reading up on how to introduce her, I thought, OMG, she should be running this show. She's a TV presenter here at USA Global TV and Radio, and her show is Authentic Achievements. She's an award-winning business consultant. She's an international business international best-selling author. She's a renowned master coach. She's a Tedx speaker, and she's a Tedx speaker Doncaster. I'm not sure if that's close to where I am. I need to ask her that. She's also a speaker on the future of leadership, technology, and guaranteed business growth. Let's bring out our special guest for tonight's show, KIM-ADELE RANDALL.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. And Happy New Year to everybody listening and watching, and Happy New Year to yourself, Caroline, and also to Reverend Linda. I'm so thrilled to be here. So thank you so very much for having me.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure. You've been on our radar for some time to come onto the show, and I'm very pleased to have you here as our special guest. Let's introduce ourselves and say a little bit about what you do. So for people that are here for the first time, so they find out a little bit more about what you do. Reverend Lydia, would you like to begin with how you help people and a little bit about what you do?
Well, I do help people in mastering their emotions. The fact is that I balance chakras just like you do, Caroline, but in a different way. I am more a holistic nurse. I have a diploma as a holistic nurse also. So I help people master their emotions. And since I worked as a registered nurse, I have a background in psychiatry also. So I do help them as an intuitive healer also. I do help them focus on what is going on with them, balance their chakra, and understand the cause to effect of what is going on with them, for them to understand their situation and improve their lives. That is pretty much what I do.
Thank you, Reverend Lydia. Wonderful. And to our special guest, again, please introduce yourself and tell our audience a little bit about what you do.
Of course, thank you. So I'm a business consultant. I spent 30 years in corporate life before setting out on my own. I'm also qualified to read emotions, and I guess my main skill is empowering leaders to get comfortable with uncomfortable conversations, of which we know in life and in business there are so very many of them. But if we get comfortable with them, then actually we stop holding ourselves back and we stop holding our business back, so that we can really step out there and make a positive impact on the world. And then the other part of me that I'm super proud of is I'm blessed to be mum to an amazing 8-year-old girl and a 3-year-old fur baby. So I love the fact that I get to balance both of those. And in my spare time, I run a podcast, I host a show on here, and I author books, which is just such a blessing.
Wow, thank you very much. Wonderful. It's absolutely amazing to have you on our show. Thank you, Kim. And for me, I'm known as the Harley Street Stress Expert, and I help people best their stress. How do I do that? I identify the root cause of what creates their repeating pattern of stress, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, or behavioral. My background and training is in root cause therapy and chakra psychology. I'm also an NLP master, and I've studied many other counseling trainings and courses, and also an energy healer. How I work with people is very swiftly. It's a fast process of identifying what causes your repeating pattern of stress. So sometimes we have a repeating headache or a migraine, or we have a repeating cycle of relationship issues, or we have a repeating cycle of something that happens within the family. And you will know your repeating patterns because it will probably be same thing, same experience, same feeling, different person, different time, different event, but same experience. And it's that I will help you break through and identify what has caused that initial block, and remove that, and that allows the emotions to run free. I also do lunch and learn for corporates, and that is something that I'm exploring in a bigger way this year in 2025. So let's move on to the show and our exciting topic. Our topic is, and it was given by our wonderful guest, Kim. She gave a few topics of what she would like to talk about, and this is the topic that I came out with in terms of encompassing everything that she wanted to bring up. From chaos to clarity, balancing parenting, business, and self-care. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask the first question, and I think I'd like to bring in Kim to answer our first question initially. How do you define balance in your life when it comes to parenting and running a business? So what's your definition of parenting in terms of balance and running a business?
Oh, it's a great question. And I think for me, my kind of journey went to the fact that balance is in the moment. So we try and look at everything and go, am I always 100% balanced? No, because life doesn't work like that. But actually, can I balance in the moment to say, how do I plan it? You know, as a single mum, it's really important to me that I dedicate time to my little girl. That's why I chose to have her. But equally, I'm a self-employed business owner, so I've got a team that rely on me for their livelihood as well. And so what I do is I'm really clear on my planning and boundaries, so that I can go, okay, what does success look like for me today as a parent? What does success look like for me today as a business owner, as a leader? What's success look like for me today for my clients? And then I try and allow in there some element for contingency, because life doesn't always go to plan. And the problem that I found before I found that clarity was I was busy trying to be everything to everybody. I was driven by a perfectionism trigger that meant I found myself sadly lacking permanently. And the one thing that I never did was self-care. I mean, that definitely went on the pending pile. But then I realized that actually, as a business owner, I'm one of my most important resources. If I don't work, it doesn't work. I'm the key resource in my organization. The same is true because I'm a single mum. If I don't work, my family doesn't work, because who else steps in to take over? And so I realized that I actually had to prioritize all three equally. Now, that doesn't mean in every day that I spend a third of my day sleeping. I spend a third of my day doing self-care. I do a third of my day doing business. But it means that across the week, I can make sure that I've planned in moments that are about me, moments that are about my little girl, moments that are about driving the business or delivering things for clients. And being intentional for me is how I moved from chaos to clarity. It was really thinking through how do I achieve what's most important to enable me to feel successful in all of those roles and not continue to find myself lacking.
That's just an amazing insight, Kim. And I would like to share with you that I have this phrase that I use: if I'm not okay, then it's not okay. The whole thing just doesn't work. And I have this innate thing that when I'm stressed or something's going wrong, and I'll get caught up because we're all human. And when I get caught up, I realize that the clients don't come in, or clients cancel, or the tech doesn't work, or something it just stops working. And even my mum, bless her, she knows when I'm not okay, it's not okay. So I really do resonate with that. Thank you.
I love that, Caroline. And it reminds me of the fact, one of the things I say a lot is, we use the term fine, and fine is one of those get out of free jail cards. If I say I'm fine, I don't have to tell you anymore, because you won't ask any more details. And therefore, I'm probably not. And everyone else. So I always say to my friends and my family, if I say I'm fine, I mean I'm fed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So what I need is for you to get me a glass of wine or a cup of tea. And if I were you, I'd get out of there fast. Because I am anything but fine in that moment. Because whenever I'm okay, I can come up with a better word than fine. So fine is my hopeful keep you away blanket, but I now acknowledge that for myself and recognize it, and then invite people in to go, I'm saying I'm fine, which means I'm actually not. Means I am actually fed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So I do need a something. So please help me. Whereas for a long time I didn't. I did the whole no. If I say this, no one's going to ask me any more questions, and therefore I can carry on wallowing in my self-pity internally whilst outwardly pretending that everything in the world is okay. And that's not a safe space for us to heal.
Well, I totally agree with you. What does Reverend Lydia think about what's been shared here, and the thoughts about fine, and what it means to you in terms of defining balance? Because there's been a lot shared here. So let's hear from what Reverend Lydia has to say about the points that have been raised.
Well, I pretty much thought exactly like Kim, and you actually also, because when I would say I am fine, that would mean stay away. because I had to work 20 days to 16 hours a day, and I would say, I'm fine, I'm okay, and let's move on. That was what I was saying, it's fine, it was the opposite. So I needed some space, that is all. And I also ended up being a single mother of two, and now I'm a grandmother. But at first it was difficult. My 16-year-old and I had his 8-year-old. It was difficult, you know, being a registered nurse, having to work overtime, handling work. I was juggling 2 jobs, so it was quite difficult. And I managed. But the thing is that, you know, at some point, I would say I was in survival mode because I could not sleep. It was so difficult. But as we always say, you know, the show must go on. And I kept my show going. That is what I did until, you know, I faked until I made it. That's it. So that's what I did. No other way.
Thank you, Reverend Lydia, and thank you for your vulnerability and transparency. It's very appreciated. Thank you. And I'm sure our viewers will be able to hear that authenticity in what you've shared, because it isn't easy. And I really value the fact that you've allowed your vulnerability and your authenticity in your response. Thank you. So what's been the biggest challenge that you faced as a parent and business owner, and how did you overcome it? And I'd like to go over to Kim initially, because you've been the one that's on rocket fuel at the moment, and that allows our Reverend Lydia to have a little contemplate of what has been the biggest moment for her. So Kim, what has been the biggest challenge for you, and what did you do to overcome it?
So great question. My biggest challenge, and it was in the early days, and one was just before I became a single mum, and then one was just slightly after. And I had 2 very serious health scares, and I was still desperately trying to pretend I could do everything, and not accepting help. And when I got to my second one, I remember I was actually at work, and I was COO for a big organization, so working lots of hours, coming home, looking after my little girl on my own. She was only 2, and I had a cold, or at least that's what I thought I had. And everyone at work was like, "Kim, you're really ill." And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm a cold. I'm in my 40s. I'm a single mum. Things just take a little bit more time. You know, I'm absolutely fine. And then I ended up in intensive care because it wasn't a cold. It was double lung pneumonia. And I realized in that moment that I had to stop pretending to the world. And first, I had to stop pretending to myself. So I couldn't do it all. And I couldn't continue to run on empty and achieve anything. And so, I remember being in the hospital bed and the doctor saying, I said to the doctor, tell me what I need to do to get out of here. And he looked at me and he went, "Madam, I don't think you understand. We're not sure you are getting out of here." And I was like, no, you don't understand. I have a 2-year-old at home that's never done more than one night away from me, and she won't know what's going on. So I am going to get home to her, and you're going to tell me what I need to do. And I was really lucky. 3 days later, I was allowed out. And he said to me, "I don't understand how you got your body to go from what I saw in your x-rays to what I see on them today." And I said, "Really simple. You got me to stop. For 3 days, I couldn't do anything. I was strapped up to a machine known to man." And so I had to just rest and really take focus and go, what's important to me? What is it? You know, if this had been my last 3 days on earth, what would I have wanted to have done with them instead of what was I doing with them? And so I vowed that if I was given the chance and I got out, I would quit my job and I would be more intentional. But it took 2 events, because that had happened to me when Scarlett was 9 months old, and I share that in my TED talk. But that wasn't enough to make me make a big enough change. It made me make a lot of changes, but not a big enough change to suddenly go, my measure of success needs to be mine, not what I think the rest of the world views as successful or not successful. And so I had to take the journey inward, which we know isn't always a nice journey. It's not always a pleasant one when you realize you're the cause of most of your problems. But equally, you therefore are the answer to most of your problems.
Thank you so much for that incredible share. I really felt you, and that really touched my heart. Thank you very much for your authenticity, and also being so vulnerable in that response. It's very appreciated. I'm sure our viewers that are here either on the live or the replay will have equal resonance with what you've just shared. Thank you. Reverend Lydia, do you have any thoughts or comments to make about what Kim has just shared? And do you have your own biggest challenge to share with our viewers?
Well, my biggest challenge to share is discipline. Being disciplined. Since I'm an author, I have to be disciplined, which is quite difficult at times because life goes on. You have to write, you have to answer, you have your business to take care of, and you have to produce. You always have to produce. And children, when you have children, and my husband, my first husband, the father of my children, has passed away. So I am mother and father at the same time. So when there is a crisis, I have to be 100% there for them. So even if I have the books to write, the work to take care of, I do have to take care of my children, even if they actually have their own family, because it doesn't end there. You're a mother, but after that, you are a grandmother. And sometimes it is your grandchildren that need you. So what happens is that if you're a business owner, if you do whatever business, whatever work, you have to be there for your business, but also for your family. And you try to give your 100%, and sometimes it's difficult. So the thing is to actually take care of yourself. I meditate every single day, absolutely every single day. So that is the way I take care of myself. I do not go to Cuba on vacation or anything like that. My vacation I take in my head. So that is the way it works. I do not take an airplane to actually vacation. I vacation in myself every single day ever since I'm 15 years old. That is the way it works.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Lydia. And for me, I'm not a parent. And at the same time, I've had my own challenges in making things work for myself personally and the business and family. And I also had a sickness that was for about 2 years before I reached out to the NHS to get a diagnosis. And I've only shared this in one particular show, a Talking Head show, and I'm quite happy to share it here, that I couldn't walk for 3 months and I was bedridden. And I couldn't work and I wasn't able to see clients because I was in so much pain. I'd got, when I did finally get the diagnosis, severe osteoarthritis in the right hip, which prevented me from being able to walk without a nerve pain, and 2 prolapsed discs. And when I did reach out eventually 2 years later to get a diagnosis, it made me realize, oh my gosh, no wonder I was in such pain, because I'm not really a person that reaches out to the NHS. And I still had to make things work. And one of the things that I did do was, during that time, I showed up and delivered my shows on USA Global TV and Radio. And I never said anything to anyone about the fact that I was in a lot of pain. And it was my bit to say, I'm here, I'm going to deliver, and I'm going to help as many people as I can that tune in. And that was something that was, it was like an impetus for me. It was an intention. I might not be able to see clients on a personal basis, face to face within my home, but I can see them and I can help them online. And that's where the movement of me moving online became much more prolific and much easier for me. And it was the impetus and the intention behind it that moved me into feeling more comfortable being online, because I couldn't have done it face to face and in person. And the way that I overcame that was the fact that I was still there. I was still present and still being seen despite my personal challenges. And that was something that I felt very proud of myself, because when I moved through that pain and not quite completely resolve the issue, but I'm certainly not in the same space of pain anymore, because I self-treated in an alternative and a complementary way. And that helped me with understanding what had caused my problems, and I dealt with them. So that was, from my perspective, something that was hugely challenging, and I changed with the world and went online. So Reverend Lydia, do you have any thoughts about what I've just shared in terms of the fact that I was still showing up on live TV and yet in a lot of pain?
Oh, yes. I understand you very much, because you know me, and you know I was in a wheelchair, and you know I was bedridden for 2 years. So you know me, and so I understand so very well. And we have to show up, even if it hurts, even. And the thing is that if we are discouraged, people around us, have pity for us. We have no pity for ourselves. The show must go on. That is all. So we just do it. We just do it. And the thing is that we're not as bad as they think we are, because we have the morale. We can go on, even if we're in pain, even if we have all kinds of things going on. We can still go on, because we are warriors. We are strong women. So that is the way we are. We are all strong women. So we go on, we do it, and we go on winning. That is all. We just go on.
Thank you, Reverend Lydia. What I'd like to add to that is my mission and purpose was greater than my personal need of pain. It was like my intention of what I wanted to create was much bigger than me, and I thought my little pain, but it wasn't little. It was actually massive. But that was what moved me, that I was producing stuff to help a lot of people, and I was hoping that that would help people, despite the fact that I was in my own challenges of sickness. But it was really comforting, because it was something that I really built myself up to do. A lot of preparation, to make sure that I was sitting comfortably, in that space of pain. But it was just beautiful for me to not even say anything to anyone. Very few people knew that I was in that type of agony and that pain. I only started telling a few people, not many, after I had moved through the debilitating pain and moved through that crisis. Kim, do you have anything to comment about what I've just shared, or would you like to add anything about the fact that my mission and purpose was greater than me?
No, I think, I admire both of you so tremendously, for the fact that you have had to deal with such challenges, and I think it is around having a purpose and a mission that is greater. It's that thing that that drives you on through that pain, that allows you to find that inner resilience that gets you through. I've often shared that for me, Scarlett is my North Star, and she guides me through, and I'm very grateful to her, because in those moments where things have been overwhelming, whether that's pain or illness or anything else, my desire to be there for her is greater than any pain that I have. So I think the fact that for yourself, Caroline, it was that you were doing good for others, and that actually that was worth so much more than your personal pain. It allows you, I think, having used Scarlett in a similar space, to repurpose and put everything into a different perspective, that allows you to say, okay, what can I do that allows me to still be driving to that mission and purpose? And it's clear that your mission and purpose is so important to you because of the drive to want to add value, and the same for yourself, Reverend, to be able to make sure you were still going, you were still driving that forward, you were still being that strong that strong woman, that strong deliverer, I think it does come from being so committed to having a purpose and a mission that is bigger than you.
Thank you, Kim.
Yes.
I have a really great question I want to ask, and it's something that I'd love to hear your thoughts about, Kim, especially as you've been in the corporate world, because that's my background as well. And that is, how do you navigate saying no to certain opportunities or requests without feeling guilty?
Oh, it's a great question, and one that, if I'm honest, Caroline, when I was in the corporate world, I was not good at. I was not good at saying no at all. I was like, you kind of almost like, that old adage, if you want something, do it, give it to a busy person, because they haven't got the time to work out how to say no appropriately, and therefore they just go, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, it's fine, I'll do that too. So for me, it was a big lesson in having to go back and learn how to set boundaries, and that it was okay to say no, that it wasn't my responsibility to do everything for everybody else. Now, that doesn't mean I wanted to be selfish and do nothing, because that wouldn't sit well with me as a person and as who I am, because I'm a natural born people pleaser. But I really had to go and learn the balance, and to be able to say no to things that actually took too much away from me. Because I'll give you an example. At one point, and I was newly married, I was asked to go and set up a centre in a different part. So I lived in the Isle of Man. I was asked to go to Glasgow to set this up. And so despite being newly married, I used to fly out on a Sunday and I used to fly back in if I was lucky on a Friday night, and if I was unlucky on a Saturday morning. And then, because I was desperately trying to prove that I was there for a good wife, I'd spend those 2 days cooking and ironing and washing so that my husband had got everything he needed for the next week. And it was like, how have you got yourself in this place? And I was 6 months in, and they decided that they wanted to make that permanent, that I moved permanently to Glasgow. But I worked for the same organisation as my husband, who they wanted to permanently stay in the Isle of Man. I was like, I'm not sure this is going to work well. And therefore, it was in that moment of like, actually, how do I find a way to appropriately balance that? And for me, it was that eye-opener that when you are so out of kilter being a people person, that they ran this through all of the channels and nobody went, that's not an appropriate suggestion. Because everyone went, oh, she'll be fine. She'll make it work. And I don't want to make it work. But I think they're the problems, aren't they? Sometimes we find ourselves almost in the hamster wheel of not wanting to be seen to be difficult or seen to be incapable. Or for me, one of my big drivers was I was constantly convinced, because I started life as a hairdresser, and I still don't have degrees and all of those things. And so despite the fact I did really well and I made it onto the boards, I was convinced they were going to turn around one day and go, we put the hairdresser on the board. It's a bit awkward. Get her off. We can't do that. And so I wouldn't say no to anything, because I was so worried that I was going to be found out to not being good enough, to not being capable, to not being what was expected, until I realized that, hold on, that was my self-limiting belief that I was driving. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, Reverend LYDIA, and yours, Caroline, on how often do we allow our own self-limiting belief to hold us back? And I realized that I said all these things that people would say, oh, they'll think this and they'll think that and they'll think the other. I'm like, you haven't had the courtesy, Kim, of asking them what they think. You've instead created what they think, blamed them for thinking it, and then used that as a reason to not move forward. And actually, the only person that was involved in that conversation was you.
I resonate with the whole thing, with everything that you said. And I also was in corporate, very successful and people pleaser. And I was the busy person. I did everything. I worked crazy hours. And my mum said something to me, which I'll never forget. She said, when you're done and you're sick and you leave, they won't think about you. They won't consider you. And she also said that you're just a number. And she says, just think about how much you're giving when you're just a number. You're just the workhorse. And that really frightened me, because I thought I was important. And I was, because that's what I thought. And I didn't say no very often. I've learned to say no. And I've learned to stop and pause and think and consider. I used to just jump in saying no, but now I pause. I might even take a day or so, or maybe a few days, just to feel into it, to feel, is this right for me? Should I go into this with everything else? Because I don't want to not perform. And that's one of my things I like to, if I can't do it, and if I don't think I've got the time, then I would rather withdraw than commit to doing something that I know that I don't have the time to do. But that's now, I'm now 60. So this is something that I've had to learn and adapt myself and adapt my overreaching, saying yes to everybody. I've had to learn in meditation how to say no. What are your thoughts, Reverend Lydia, in terms of saying no and navigating not feeling guilty, and what obviously Kim and myself have shared?
Well, as for me, I was a people pleaser also, like most of us are. And the thing is that, I could not say no neither, but at some point I realized that I was out of time. So I realized that my lives of people were at stake if I was taking too much in. I could make mistakes. So what I did is that, I decided to take decisions to say no to people, to protect other people. Because since I wanted to be a superwoman, well, I was not helping myself and I was not helping anyone else. I was not helping my family. I was not helping my patients. That was a disastrous position. So instead of saying yes all the time, I decided that I would decide what was more important and what was less dangerous if I was saying no. So my decision of saying no, what was coming from my decision of saying no or saying yes? So I would always balance my response to someone asking me something. Because the thing is that, when we say yes too much, well, we're overwhelmed and we try and we feel guilty and we cannot deliver. And people around us say, she told me yes, but she did not do this. And someone else says, yeah, but she told me yes to this also. And she has not finished yet. And that is what happens when we say yes to everyone. So we have to choose our battles. That is exactly the way I see it. We have to choose our own battles.
I'm so in agreement with you, Reverend Lydia. I really am. Choosing the battle is the thing that I really resonate with. Well, we're almost at the end of our show. Can you believe that, ladies? And I had so many more questions. But I want to do, just before we finish, a very quick fire before we finish off with how people can contact you. And that is, how do you stay resilient? A very quick response. How do you stay resilient when faced with unexpected challenges in business or in family life? Let's go to Kim, our special guest. How do you stay resilient, Kim?
So for me, when things get out of control, of which life throws as many plot twists, I look at what's the things I can control and I control the hell out of them, because that allows me to keep moving forward. And before you know it, you've got through whatever it was.
Thank you. I love it. Reverend Lydia, what say you?
Well, I'm the kind of person that before taking a decision, I take my 24 hours. So I always take 24 hours to take whatever decision, because I do not like to take a decision on the spur of the moment. So my way of being resilient is by taking my time. So I take 24 hours for whatever. I take 24 hours and it works for me. So as long as it works for me, that is the way.
Thank you, Reverend Lydia. And for me, one of the things that I do when things are really getting me down and I'm faced with big challenges is I like to dance and I like to chant. So I put my headset on and I sing and chant. Sometimes put the 80s music on because that's my time. And sometimes I chant Sanskrit mantra and I dance. Neighbours have heard me when I first arrived here at 2 a.m. So now I don't do it at 2 a.m. anymore. Well, thank you very much, ladies. Please, before we go, Kim, share how people can contact you and the best way to contact you.
Of course. And thank you, Caroline and Dr. Lydia, for having me on the show. And as you can see, my little person demonstrating chaos to clarity in the background. So she's joined us as well. So the best way you can get in touch with me is either go to my website, which is AuthenticAchievements.com, or you can find me at kim@KIM-ADELE.RANDALL.com. I see she's escaping in the background. Or you can find me on social media, either as Kim-ADELE Randall or at Kim-ADELE10.
Thank you, Kim. And Reverend Lydia, how can people reach you and what's the best way to contact you?
The best way to contact me is with my phone number, which is 1-514-582-6882. 1-514-582-6882. There's also my website, www.lydiafougere.com. They can join me also with my Instagram, Diva Divine Mother _. And I always answer. I'm always there, whatever. And I always say, no question is ever ridiculous. If it's a question, it has to be asked. That is all.
Thank you, Reverend Lydia. For myself, before I go into my details, it's been an absolute pleasure to have our guest, Kim, on the show. I've really learned a lot and I feel very humbled by some of the things that she shared, and also Reverend Lydia. I'm thinking that I'm really not great and I'm pushing myself forward and not feeling that I have everything that these wonderful people have. And yet I've learned such a lot that we're similar in so many ways. So thank you very much, Kim, for your authenticity, and also Reverend Lydia. For me, you can reach me on nomorestress at live.co.uk, or you can call me +44 if you're international. If you're local, 07523 120 189. You can follow me on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I post all of the live shows live streamed from USA Global TV and Radio. And I look forward to seeing you next week on Monday for part 1, A Woman's Prerogative, at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And we have a part 2, A Woman's Prerogative, coming up very shortly at 9 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And that is 4 p.m. I think Eastern Time. I very much look forward to seeing you all at A Woman's Prerogative Part 2, where we will discuss this further. But before we go, please do join our VIP exclusive community and become an exclusive VIP community member. You have first access to our newest videos, photographs and insights on the British royal family. It's live streamed on USA Global TV and Radio and on YouTube. And now over to our sponsors. Thank you very much for joining us, whether you're here on the live or the replay. And I look forward to seeing you at A Woman's Prerogative Part 2. Bye-bye for now, and over to our sponsors.
In a world full of noise, misunderstandings and interruptions, master the art of listening with Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck is the listening mentor of USA Global TV and Radio and the Amazon #1 best-selling author of Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening. Elevate your listening. Elevate your life. Join a global learning experience in person or via Zoom. Reserve your spot today. usaglobaltv.com/book-your-session. or drjacqueline.thinkific.com. Join Dr. Kerbeck's listening courses or hire her to unlock deeper connections and authentic conversations. Have you ever felt unheard? Like your words float into a void, leaving you invisible and disconnected? How about feeling judged, when assumptions overshadow your truth, leaving you misunderstood and defensive? And then there's that moment when someone offers solutions you never asked for, dismissing your feelings and leaving you more frustrated than before. It doesn't have to be this way. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the listening mentor, understands. She's here to help you reclaim your voice, build stronger connections, and create meaningful conversations that inspire understanding and mutual respect. Through her groundbreaking books, online and in-person courses, and interactive workshops, you'll learn how to navigate life's most challenging interactions. Discover the power of elevated listening and transform how you communicate. Master setting boundaries and asking permission to protect your peace. Learn to recognize and release judgment, fostering empathy and true connection. Dr. Kerbeck also offers personalized coaching, one-on-one or group sessions designed to fit your unique needs. Whether in person or virtually on StreamYard, her guidance will empower you to thrive. You don't have to struggle alone. The path to deeper connections and better relationships start here. Visit drjacqueline.com or usaglobaltv.com. Join a global community of empowered listeners and transform your life, one meaningful conversation at a time. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck is the listening mentor. Start your journey today.